It's hard to believe that it's been a little over 5 years since Audi first introduced their mass-produced electric vehicle to the US known as the e-tron SUV. Now in that time frame, there has been a lot of new competitors out there that have really begun to show the age of the e-tron, especially when you look at the actual range of an electric vehicle. So for 2024, there is a big round of changes and a new name. This right here is the brand new 2024 Audi Q8 e-tron SUV. As you can see, the Q8 naming is now showing its new position in the Audi electric hierarchy. In addition to a new name and slightly updated styling, this vehicle also gets a larger battery pack, with Audi claiming up to 300 miles of range on a full charge. So as you can see, this week Audi has loaned me this bright white 2024 Q8 e-tron Prestige, and the big question I want answered: has Audi made enough changes to the Q8 e-tron to keep this model competitive? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the exterior styling updates that Audi has made, which they are pretty small, let's go ahead and open up the hood, because the million-dollar question with a lot of electric vehicles, does this car have a frunk? And I'm happy to report that it does, although it's a slightly small one. Now you can see underneath the hood, you can see some of the motors and the wirings and the electronics, but if you lift up this little plastic cover here, Audi says you have a little under 2 cubic feet of storage space here, which is just enough room for the mobile charge cable in the vehicle and additional smaller storage items, obviously. But the motor of the vehicle did get some updates, but the power output remains the same. So all Q8 e-trons come standard with dual electric motors. The electric motors themselves got 2 additional windings, or 2 additional coils, to increase the magnetic field of the motor with the same energy output. Power output remains unchanged, however, at 355 horsepower and 413 pound-feet of torque. Now, if you put the transmission in S, it will unlock a boost function for up to 10 seconds that'll increase output to 402 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers are healthy, but again, they are nowhere near the top of the class. Audi does offer an SQ8 e-tron, which is coming, that'll add an additional motor to the rear to give this thing almost 500 horsepower. Now, the battery pack did get enlarged this year. It used to be 95 kilowatt hours. Now it's 114 kilowatt hours, 106 of which is usable. So it's about a 30% increase in the battery size. Audi actually says they were able to do that within the same space as the old battery because it's using a more energy dense battery and its materials. It all goes out still through a 1-speed reduction gear transmission. Remember, this is not built on the same platform as the Taycan. This is actually the MLB Evo platform, so it shares it with a gas-powered vehicle. Audi says quattro all-wheel drive is also included. It's got more of a rear drive bias because the electric motor is stronger at the rear. Audi claims 0 to 60 is around 5.4 seconds. We'll retest it and see what we can get with the refresh model. Its top speed is around 124 miles an hour. As this vehicle sits, it weighs in at just over 5,800 pounds, so it's about 100 pounds heavier than the old model, thanks to, again, the slightly heavier and more energy-dense battery pack. In terms of range, this model here is rated to get 285 miles because it's got the larger 21-inch wheels. But let's go ahead and close this up and then close the hood and talk about the exterior styling. Now, the old e-tron SUV I already thought was a pretty good looking vehicle. It's a great electric car if you don't want to drive a vehicle that screams you're driving an electric car. And for 2024, the Q8 e-tron gets some pretty subtle tweaks. You can see the headlights. Audi's digital matrix design LED headlights are going to be available on this higher trim. This headlight here has a LED low and high beam. It's got adaptive swiveling function. It's got LED daytime running lights and turn signals. And then it also has a really cool feature where it'll project images onto the road or onto the garage wall, and it's kind of like a cool little party trick. Audi, again, already had that on the pre-refresh model, but the headlights look really great at night. The grille, you can see, has been slightly altered. You have this little black portion here. There's like actual openings in the grille, but there are some like active grille shutters here that you'll find down in the lower area. You can see the grille itself also has an illuminated portion underneath this area here, along with a new two-dimensional Audi logo. This logo doesn't light up at night, but it looks like it does thanks to this kind of LED light bar that shines down onto the actual logo. You can see it has the e-tron badge there at the lower portion of the grille. You have some more functional openings here. My tester is missing a package, the first launch edition package that would include the S-Line Sport Appearance package. My tester, again, is lacking that feature, but it does have the black optics package to black out more elements in the grille. Now, moving around the side profile, the dimensions here are unchanged. It's a mid-size tweener style SUV with a 115.9 inch long wheelbase, a 193.5 inch long overall length. This is around 10 inches longer than most of the compact sized electric SUVs in which this would compete with. You can see the wheels, they range from either a 20 or a 21 inch wheel. If you guys go for the Sportback, you can get a 19 inch wheel on the Ultra trim, which will improve the range to 300 miles. The Sportback in general has 296 miles. The brakes, you can see massive 15.9 inch rotors at the front with clamped down by 6 piston calipers. You have regen braking. The tires are measuring 265 by 45 R21. These are an aero specific wheel. Audi actually says the wheels themselves are all more aerodynamic. You also have an air suspension, which is going to be standard with adaptive dampers. And then Audi claims that the overall drag coefficient has improved to 0.29. So it's a 6% increase in the drag coefficient. And that again helps with improving the range of this vehicle. Now you can see the charge port door is located right here on the fender. It is a power operating charge port door, which it doesn't open when the vehicle is on. So let me go ahead and shut the vehicle off so you can see what that looks like. Push this button, you can see that pops the door open. You can also get an option to get a second charge port door on the passenger side. My tester is lacking that. You can see once you open this up, it has the CCS combo and a J1772 plug. It has an onboard 9.2 kilowatt charger, which means on a level 2, this will take roughly 13 hours to charge from empty to full. You can get an optional 19.2 kilowatt onboard charger, which will cut that time in half to about 6.5 hours. It also can accept now a maximum of 150 kilowatts on a DC fast charger, which means you can go, or 170, I'm sorry, 170 kilowatts, which is up from 150. That means you can go from 10 to 80% in roughly 31 minutes. Not the fastest, but it's a good average number. You can see the mirrors, they are body colored, they're power folding, integrated turn signals. You also have these roof rails, which are more aerodynamic. Glass panoramic roof that opens up is also standard. And then all Q8s now have the laser etching here on the base of this B-pillar on the rear door. That's going to be included on all Audi electric models moving forward. This is the first model to kind of get that. And then looking at the rest of the profile, you can see this is the conventional body style. It's got more of a squared off look, which is going to give you more interior space in the back seat and in the cargo area. Now you can see the badging here is pretty Spartan. You have just a Q8 badge here at the back. It's got the new Audi logo here as well. If you get the S-Line package, it'll add an S in front of the Q8, but don't confuse it for an SQ8, that's for the higher performance version. And then you can see down here, the black optics package also blacks that out in the lower bumper area. Now, I like how Audi is still including a rear wiper. A lot of EVs are removing that. You have a tastefully integrated rear spoiler back here. And then when you open up the cargo area, which this vehicle does have a power liftgate, there it is. This cargo area is bigger versus the Sportback, but you get around 29 cubic feet of storage space. No third row seat is offered on this vehicle. Obviously, if you fold down the second row, which you can actually do by just pulling on this lever here, it's nice how they do that. It expands the cargo to just under 57 cubic feet of space. I like how there's also additional storage here on each side. And then if you lift this up, you can see really deep storage cubby along with a temporary spare tire. Also love the aluminum trim piece here. So overall, it's a nicely well-finished cargo area. However, it doesn't offer quite as much space as some of its rivals. So exterior-wise, Audi didn't make too many changes for the revised Q8 e-tron. However, let's go ahead and hop inside the interior and see if Audi made any changes there. Before we get inside, I want to show you guys the key fob. You can see all Q8 e-trons come standard with their intelligent access key. This is Audi's current key fob. I like the size of it. I like the feel. It has nice clicky buttons here for lock and unlock and the power liftgate function. There's a panic function. Then it says e-tron on the back of the key, although I'm surprised they didn't update this to show Q8 e-tron to show the model name. But again, it's still a very nice key. If you have access to the Audi Connect app, you should be able to access this vehicle as well through your smartphone. Now, looking at the door handles, you can see it's a conventional door handle here with an actual button here to lock and unlock the door. You can see if you lock the door, that folds in the mirrors electrically, which you can turn on and off. To unlock it, just touch the back of the door handle and then pull it traditionally, and that will unlock the door for you. Now, my tester has a black interior. This is the upgraded Volcana Milano or Milan leather interior, Milano leather interior. It's the upgraded softer leather, and the seats seats here you can see are heated and cooled, and they also have a massaging feature. That's included when you guys go for the Prestige trim and up. And then the seats themselves, they adjust in like 18 different ways. That's how you access the massage, by pushing that button over there. It's got 4-way lumbar. So this seat here is definitely comfortable, but I probably would go with a different color, maybe a brown or a beige interior, to kind of break up the dark contrast of the black interior. Now you can see the door panel has a soft touch injection molded plastic. It still has that really interesting design here where it kind of like has this little indent with this kind of cool metal accented door handle. You have real aluminum trim, and you have padded leather armrest over here. You have really clicky, high quality buttons, which I love. Audis are really known for that. Your window or mirror controls are right here. It's power folding, and then you have 2-person memory seats on the driver and on the passenger side as well. The passenger gets the same kind of front seat adjustments. My tester also has the upgraded Bang & Olufsen stereo, which sounds incredible. Audi does a really good B&O stereo system, which again, most of you are gonna love. The ambient lighting in here also on the door panel looks really great. I'll talk about that more as we get inside the interior. Now with around 7 inches of ground clearance, it has a nice easy step-in height, so you don't have to kind of jump into the vehicle. There's no need for running boards. As I come in and then shut the door, you can kind of just click it, and you can hear it has a soft close function because this is the Prestige trim. Lower trims won't have the soft close function. You can also kind of slam the door, and it has a really nice solid sounding thunk. Now once you get in here, you can see the air conditioning is actually already running, because this car, what I love, has an auxiliary AC function, which will run the climate control even when the vehicle is off with the doors locked for up to 30 minutes, which I love that feature in the hot summer days. You can see the start stop button is right here by the shifter. Push that, that's gonna turn the vehicle on. You know it's on when it says ready in that little makeshift tachometer right there. You can actually customize the way the gauge display looks. It has that little startup chime, and then you can see here the mirrors also electrically fold out. Now, my tester doesn't have the S-Line package, so we have a slightly different steering wheel. Instead of the 3-spoke wheel, we have a 4-spoke wheel. This is actually the same wheel that's in the Audi A8. Remember, the A8 is their flagship luxury sedan. This is supposed to be their flagship luxury SUV. Which you can see the rest of the interior still looks pretty nice, although it is starting to look a little bit dated. I'm assuming Audi is going to be working on a new interior layout with new software and some new infotainment systems. You can see materials, however, are nice. You have this real leather stitching across the upper portion of the dash. This right here is slightly padded. You also have a heads-up display, which is nice. You have piano black plastic. You have real genuine wood trim here, which is nice. And then this area here is slightly padded, but it's not leather stitched. And then on the door panels you saw earlier, this is not leather stitched. So there's a couple of competitors that have slightly nicer interiors. The steering wheel, you can see it's got a power tilt and telescoping function, which is nice. You have paddles on the wheel, which is to control the regen braking. The controls again here will control the way that instrument panel looks, where you can customize it. That's Audi's virtual cockpit display. It's a 12.3-inch display. The horn sounds good. It doesn't sound puny. It sounds appropriate. Then you have a 10.1-inch display over here and an 8.6-inch display. So you've got a 2-level display. This also includes wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is nice. You can see it takes up almost the entire screen. It's relatively quick and snappy. I didn't have any issues with it connecting to my phone this time, which I had in the pre-refreshed e-tron, so I'm not entirely sure if Audi has upgraded the software. This vehicle also, again, has embedded GPS, which uses Google Earth. It looks pretty similar to what you find on your computer screen. You can also put the GPS function here on the actual screen, where you can make this a full screen layout as well. It looks really great. Love that. It looks really futuristic. Still looks fantastic today, even though this has been on the market for a few years now. Down here you can see you have your quad zone climate control. You have heated and cooled seats, which you can actually turn on both at the same time. You have, again, really clicky, satisfying haptic feedback in the screen. So when I touch a portion of the screen, it actually transmit a vibration back into my finger, which is nice. You can see going to lights and visibility. The ambient lighting in this car is gorgeous. It has the e-tron logo lit up. It has this beautiful character lines and glowing green light that you can kind of customize the lighting in the interior here. It just makes for a beautiful ambiance at night. And again, you can choose different color options here from all these different, different select modes that Audi has pre-selected for color themes, but you can also go to an individual setting. You can change the light, the lines, you can change the surface color. So this all looks great. I think Audi does amazing ambient interior lighting. You can see down here, this controls just your climate function, but you can also push this button here. It'll pull up your different air conditioning functions. The heated steering wheel is accessed via this button here. You can also program this button to work as the heated steering wheel button. There's no, however, air fragrance system where it wafts a perfume into the cabin. That's something that you get in the A8. It's not available for some reason on the Q8, which would have been nice. Push this little button here. You can see it's your drive mode selector. There's like 5 different or 6 different drive modes. They all will actually adjust the air suspension. If I go into the off-road setting here, you can see it raises the vehicle up a little bit. It turns off the stability control. If you put it into the dynamic setting, it lowers the vehicle again to give it more of that squatted, hunkered down look. And there's also an individual setting. We'll try out the different drive modes later in the drive scene. You can see Audi's driver assistance function is over here, where you can adjust it from maximum, individual, or basic function. You can see there's the lighting there on the door panel, which looks pretty cool. You can even see it in the daytime. This controls here the 1-speed reduction gear transmission. Push this forward to go into reverse. You can see it reveals a full 360 camera, which has really great graphics and resolution. You can see Audi does one of the best in the industry, where you can kind of do a perimeter scan around the vehicle. Although this is a picture of the old e-tron. I'm surprised they didn't at least update that to include the revised version. Kick this back to go into park, push the P button to go, or to drive, and then push the P button to go into park. And then if you want to access the sport mode via the boost setting, you have to again push this down to go from basically drive to S mode. That's how you're going to know if you're in that boost function. Now down here you can see there's a nice large center console area. You have a nice lid that covers up the cup holders. The 2023 model that I tested 8 months ago didn't have a wireless phone charging pad, but it's nice to see that this is back. Love that this is returned. It's in a really good position. You have a nice padded center console area. Then you can see here, open that up, you have decent amount of storage. You have 2 USB-C charging ports. And then the seats, like I mentioned earlier, have a massage function. If I push the little button here, you can access several different massage functions. There's like at least 10, I believe. My favorite is the revitalization or the activation massage. It's on the same side over here. It's a really great feeling feature to have on those longer road trips. And then over here in the glove compartment, you can see it's actually huge. It's damped and it's lined with felt. And then above me, you can see big panoramic roof that you can also open up. You can also close up the shade if you'd like, along with the LED map lighting throughout the cabin. So overall, still really nice interior. The tech features still also impress, although it's not quite as impressive as what you're gonna find in Mercedes or BMW products with their larger screens. But again, if you prefer more of that conventional look, you're gonna really like what Audi has to offer in the Q8 e-tron. Moving to the backseat area of the Q8 e-tron, because this is a bigger SUV, you do have more space than a lot of the compact rivals. You can see door panel materials back here are soft touch injection molded plastic, although barely soft. You have these manual retractable sunshades, which is nice. More of that aluminum trim, padded center or padded armrest here, along with the Bang & Olufsen metal accented speakers. You can see the rear seat itself doesn't actually recline. You can obviously fold it down to expand the cargo capacity. It gives you a almost completely flat load floor. The seat doesn't slide forward and back, but you do have just over 39 inches of legroom back here, which is pretty good. This is among the best in the segment. And then as I get in and shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk. Now you can see, once you're back here, for somebody my height, I have plenty of legroom, I have plenty of foot space. I can easily kind of cross my legs back here and get comfortable. And then in terms of the headroom space, you can see tons of headroom for somebody my height. If you're over 6 feet, this should still be suffice as well. The panoramic roof does take up a little bit of headroom space. This is standard, so you can't get a Q8 without a panoramic roof. And then you can see down here, quad zone climate control, rear seat air vents here and over here on the actual B pillar, which is nice. You have 2 USB-C charging ports here. You have heated rear seats, 3 level, but no cooled seats back here. And then you can see, fold this down, you can get an armrest right here and additional storage as well, along with kind of folding this down in a 60/40 manner. So overall, if you guys are looking to use this vehicle as a family car, obviously the Q8 e-tron is going to give you among the best space in the midsize electric SUV space. So as promised, here we are about 8 months later since we drove the 2023 e-tron. Audi has finally loaned us the Q8 e-tron, which is the significantly revised version. It even got a new name to show its new hierarchy in the Audi e-tron lineup. And I have to say, this model here has always been a really great choice for those of you who don't want an EV that feels weird, that feels like an electric car. This feels like a regular Audi, so the name Q8 is very befitting for a vehicle like this. Now, Audi did improve the electric motor magnetic field by increasing the coils or the windings in the electric motor by 2. So now it has 14 windings as opposed to 12, which again increases the magnetic field with the same amount of energy. Now the power remains the same, 355 or 402 2 with it in boost mode. I have it in dynamic mode right now in the sport settings, so it should have that a little boost function. Let's go ahead and see what we can get 0 to 60 and see if it's improved a little bit. Remember, we have a larger battery pack now. Feels pretty strong off the line. This car gets the best launches without brake torquing it. 5.18 seconds, which is a great time. It's a little bit faster than the 5.4 that Audi claims, and this is actually about the same time that I got in the 2023 model on that same stretch of road. So as you can see, 0 to 60 time has not improved for this vehicle, and the Q8 e-tron is still slower than some rivals. I mean, this time is most likely going to match that of its newest rival from Mercedes-Benz, the EQE 350, which I haven't had a chance to drive yet. Hopefully I'll be able to drive that soon. This vehicle in general just feels like a really comfortable car that you're going to want to easily daily drive, and the improved range is obviously going to address that. Let's try it here really quick, but I'm not going to put it in its boost setting here. We're just going to floor it from a stop in its regular mode. Feels so much slower in this mode. This is where the car feels like it's almost not giving you full power initially, but we got 6.3 there. That's with it in a slightly more uphill manner. So it actually reduces the 0 to 60 time by about a second if you guys have it in its boost settings. So that's a pretty significant amount of increase. So I highly recommend, honestly, just by accessing it, you just basically click this little shifter down one notch to either go from D to S. You can actually see in this little makeshift tachometer that it unlocks another like 25% of additional travel in the actual makeshift tachometer to show that you have the additional power. So it's kind of nice that Audi gives you that feature. I still have not yet driven the SQ8 or the e-tron S, or the pre-refresh model. That's the one that adds another electric motor to the rear to give you over almost 500 horsepower. So Audi says that one will do it in like low 4 second range, but I'm hoping that Audi will be able to loan me that car at a later date so we can actually drive the performance version and see what that's like. Now, in terms of the handling, Audi did retune the steering and the suspension of this car to be a little bit quicker, to be a little bit faster reacting, to give you a sportier drive. And my tester, sadly, is lacking the S-Line Sport Appearance package, which doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the handling, just of the looks. We do have adaptive air suspension in this car, and in dynamic mode, it lowers itself a little bit, and it stiffens the springs to give you a little bit better handling. This car isn't what I would say like super, super sporty, but it does have a nice little balance between ride quality and handling. And then when you put your foot down here, it doesn't have enough power to spin those tires out, but boy, does this thing feel quick. You feel all that instantaneous torque, but you only get that feeling when you have it in its S mode, which is a little disappointing. In drive, it doesn't feel quite as fast. It feels a little too slow, actually, for me, considering the price point of this car. Now, this car also lacks a one-pedal drive feature. If I pull this paddle here twice, it'll put us into the regen mode, but it always kind of resets itself every time I hit the throttle. It's kind of annoying. But let's try it here one more time. I put it back into its boost setting here. Feels pretty quick off the line in this mode. Nice. 5.16, so very consistent performance. And I think it's for most people, this should be enough power. But again, for you speed freaks out there, myself included, you're gonna wanna pony up for the SQ8 that adds that additional motor to the rear of this vehicle. Now, in terms of the brake pedal, Audi does a pretty good job of blending the regen and the friction brakes, but I will say that it can be a little bit tough to be smooth in this car still. I just found that you have to kind of modulate the pedal a certain way. The regen braking in this car also, I'm not in love with. Again, I pull the paddle here once, it gives you one level. Pull it again, it gives you 2 levels of regen, which is, I'd say, about probably 75% there. I just wish that Audi did offer a one-pedal drive function. What annoys me, as soon as I touch the gas, the regen goes away. I have to constantly keep pulling this paddle here to give me the regen braking, which I just wish that Audi would just introduce a one-pedal drive feature. That's something that, again, the Volkswagen Group in general doesn't really do. They don't believe in the one-pedal drive, which I guess is fine. That's, you know, what their engineers stand for, but it's nice to at least have that option. In terms of visibility, this car rides really well. I can see out of it really well easily. This is not the Sportback version, so I don't have that sloping roof taking up the space. No digital camera rearview mirror. This car does have the Audi Drive Assist feature where it has their traffic jam assistance, adaptive cruise, lane keep assist. That's great. That's all great. Let me switch the drive mode here into comfort. Or actually, let's go ahead and switch into the all-road setting. I actually kind of like the all-road setting because it raises the suspension up and then it gives you the comfort dampers. And you get a sense that the vehicle gets a lot softer in this mode. The suspension gets softer, the steering gets lighter. But overall, it's still a really pleasant driving vehicle that's quiet also. Audi claims this is as quiet as their A8 flagship luxury sedan, and I believe it. I mean, there's no engine here to make a noise. It doesn't have any road or wind noise. It's really quiet. Which is nice. Now, in terms of the range, this is where Audi has claimed a 30% increase in the range. We're going from 226 to 285 miles on a full charge, which looks fantastic on paper. Sadly, I was not able to replicate that in my week's worth of testing. On a full charge, with the air conditioning off, set and efficiency, the trip computer was showing a maximum range of 242 miles. Now, that is an improvement over the 220 miles that I saw in the 2023 e-tron Chronos Edition that I tested about 8 months ago. In my week's worth of testing, I was able to beat the actual range figure estimate in the trip computer here for the car, and I got around 250 to 255 miles on a full charge. That is perfectly, acceptable. It's much improved, obviously, versus the 215-ish miles that I got in my real-world testing of the 2023 version. However, that is not a 30% increase. It's really around like a 15% increase, which is nice. More range is always better. But I will say that you can get better range in the real world than something like the BMW iX. Now, I haven't had a chance to test out the EQE SUV from Mercedes. That model is rated around 279 miles of range. But again, perhaps when you drive a vehicle that's a little bit more broken in, you own it for a little bit longer, you drive a little bit more efficiently than I can, although I did drive it pretty efficiently in my week's worth of testing, and it still did not break the 280 mark that this car supposedly can get. It is still a nice improvement, but Audi obviously still has more work to do. This thing will accept up to 170 kilowatts of DC fast charging. It still runs on the 400 volt architecture system. Audi is going to be introducing a new 800 volt EV based on their new premium electric platform that'll be introduced in the next year or so, and that's something that I'll be looking forward to seeing. But overall, Audi obviously has improved the Q8 e-tron. It's a much better driving EV. I love the new name. I love the new positioning of the vehicle. The acceleration is fine, although I want it to be a little faster. And the range is acceptable. It still could be better, but again, for those of you who want maximum range, you still can check out the Q8 Sportback with the Ultra package. That actually will claim to get 300 miles, but until I go on for a full week, I don't actually know what it'll get in the real world, but I suspect with the smaller wheels, that one should get better range. But overall, still a very nice choice if you guys are looking for a midsize EV that's also a luxury car. So after spending a week with the thoroughly revised 2024 Audi Q8 e-tron SUV, I have to say this model, when it first came out back in 2018, was a great first effort. Obviously, over the years, the range began to fall. The power figures also started to trail its competitors, especially when these faster non-luxury EVs started showing up. But for 2024, Audi has obviously made some key improvements here, and they addressed one of the areas of criticism that really needed to be addressed, and that's the range. Obviously, in my real-world testing, I was slightly disappointed that I didn't get the full 285 miles of range that the EPA is claiming, but still 250-ish miles of range is a nice improvement versus the 215 that I got in the 2023 model. 0 to 60 also in just over 5 seconds is going to be sufficient for most people. However, again, if you want something faster, there's the SQ8 that's coming later as well that'll deliver almost 500 horsepower. The interior is still probably one of the best aspects of the Q8 e-tron. As you guys saw, it's really luxurious inside. Love the fact that you can get massaging seats. I love the high quality materials. I love the big back seat and relatively usable cargo area. The tech in this car is definitely starting to get a little bit dated. Audi, I'm assuming, is working on a new infotainment interface with much larger screens. They may go away from the 2-screen layout, which I've criticized other brands in the past. But overall, the e-tron is still a nice option, especially if you want an EV that doesn't really scream, I'm a weird electric vehicle, like the Mercedes EQE SUV or the BMW iX, both of which just look a little bit strange. This has a much more conventional look to it, which I imagine will appeal to certain people. Now, in terms of pricing, this vehicle is on sale now, and pricing begins at just under $75,000 for the base e-tron Q8 version. If you guys want to go to the Prestige version that I'm showing you, it's about $10,000 more, but it does include some features like the digital matrix LED headlights, the Bang & Olufsen stereo system, the massaging heated and cooled ventilated seats, the 21-inch wheels. Those are all nice features to have, but you're gonna be bumping the base price up to just under $85,000. If you guys want the Sportback, which is the less practical but more attractive looking in Audi's eyes version, that's about $3,000 more. The Launch Edition, which includes the S-Line appearance package, which this particular one is lacking, is around $90,000. Again, add $3,000 if you guys want the Sportback. My tester here with the black optics package and destination charge comes in at just under $89,000, which again, a lot of money. However, it is going to be less expensive than the BMW iX. The Mercedes-Benz EQE is also going to be slightly more expensive as well, but just keep in mind you can get something like a Tesla Model Y, which offers way more range, and it's also about 30%, 40% cheaper versus a vehicle like this, although some would argue that a Tesla does not actually compete with a luxury brand like Audi or Mercedes or BMW. But with all that said, I do think that Audi has made some nice changes to the vehicle. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on the SQ8 at some point to test out the higher performance model. And if you guys must have an Audi or a German luxury vehicle, this is definitely among the most conservatively styled cars options out there, but I think that should do well for Audi. And I should expect the company also to be introducing their next generation of EVs in the next year or so, running on the 800-volt architecture. With all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the refreshed 2024 Audi Q8 e-tron. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.